Big news this week. We are happy to announce that we have a sponsor, and a sponsor for this podcast, but also it's more of a partnership with broadly, like with 368, and it's Cash App. For those of you who don't know, Cash App is like a mobile payments. It's sort of like Venmo, but it doesn't suck like Venmo. It's like they have something called a cash card, which is like an ATM card that gets discounts, and you can buy Bitcoin with it. You can get direct deposit paychecks into your Cash App. It's sort of like banking of the future. Plus, I'm a big fan of Jack Dorsey, who's the CEO of Twitter, but he's also the CEO of Cash App. And I don't know, it's just a fucking great product. Plus, these guys came in and they're doing this like broad partnership with 368 because they support what we're doing. So in any event, a big, fat, emphatic thank you to Cash App for being our inaugural partner and sponsor. And to the audience out there, please check it out because, well, one, because they're great for sponsoring us, and two, because it's a really fantastic product.
I can't believe Cash App beat out Ding Dongs for the first sponsor.
I know, Ding Dongs, WTF, and Cash App. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Candice and Casey's podcast. They're doing couples therapy.
Honey, I think we should start today's podcast out by really addressing for the audience why you and I can't figure out how to sit down for 30 minutes once a week and get our damn podcast out on time.
That's a joke, right?
No, I was serious.
I'm down for whenever. It's you.
DFW?
Yeah.
I know, but there's always an excuse.
I'll tell you why.
Tell me.
It's going to cause a fight.
Oh, boy. I don't want another one of those episodes. Okay, tell me.
4 hours of your 24 hours day is spent exercising.
Health comes first. Is that your whole excuse?
I'm just saying,
I know,
I
but I
can
feel
find
like-
half an hour anytime.
I just feel like if like that's what you're going to lean into, then the people who like tweet about the show are going to be like, as Candice is giving Casey a hard time because he likes to stay healthy.
No,
I
you
do
can be
like to stay
healthy for
healthy,
like 45
folks.
minutes a day.
I value my health and my well-being very much so.
Yeah, but you're upset. Okay, we're not going to get into it because this is really, really a sensitive topic. But I feel like the last couple of days, all the things that we work through and we're even talking about on the podcast that were so positive that we've talked through and were issues and they're not issues really anymore because we're working on it, have all just come back straight and smacked me in the face the last couple of days. And it's a good thing that we have to go to Dr. P tomorrow, but it's a bad thing that
Wait, that's tomorrow?
at 10:45.
What Candice is referring to is tomorrow at 10:45 in the a.m., we have an appointment with our actual couples therapist. Couples therapy. You just call her a therapist?
She's a doctor.
We have a meeting with our...
She's a medical doctor.
Do you say appointment or meeting?
An appointment.
We have
A session.
We have a session with our actual medical doctor psychiatrist to help us work through some...
Recurring issues, I'd say, at this point.
Yeah, I just want to be able to characterize our fights as clinically as possible. Well, it just makes it sound more formal, like we know what we're talking about.
Okay.
What? We have let's take that up tomorrow in our session with
Okay.
our psychologist. No, what was the word?
Doctor.
No, you said one after that was more specific.
Psychiatrist.
Okay, the reason why we can't get these things done every week is, and Candice, I want to dive into this. I really want to dive into this because this is my biggest struggle in life. And I always say to you, like, I wish I had a career psychiatrist to help me figure this out. And I think it's probably more of like a mentor, like a real business mentor to help me understand prioritization and stuff. But it feels like there's always a valid excuse. Like, look at last week. We were supposed to record it at your mom's house in California while we were there. Mm-hmm. And what did we do instead? You
had appendicitis.
Yeah, I went to the damn hospital.
An excited appendix.
My appendix got super excited and we had to go to get a cytist.
Yeah, look, that I understand. It's just that...
It just feels like there's always something like that dramatic.
It's because you can't say no to things, first of all.
We've identified that a long time ago.
And you can't prioritize.
I cannot prioritize.
And what you do prioritize is whatever is most exciting at that moment.
That's all very correct.
Right. So the stuff that becomes work or mundane or responsibility gets brushed aside because in your life and your work, the opportunities are very immediate. So you either take them or they disappear, and you want to take them all, which I understand. But living with you is very difficult because I am living with somebody. It's not about seizing the moment. It's like, it's a little bit more pathological than that. It's like you are addicted to the excitement and the energy and the everything. And if something's mundane, it becomes a non-priority. It's mundane. It's not going to help your career. It's not going to earn money.
But podcast might be my favorite thing I do in my whole...
Casey, people are like, how do you sit down? I said, it's the only time the entire week where I sit down with my husband and he doesn't look at his phone.
It's not, I'm not looking at it. That's off.
I know,
it's a paperweight
off.
Right now.
Like, it's incredible. We literally have no time together. It's upsetting to me. And honestly, when we missed the podcast last week, that might be why we're so out of sync lately. We haven't spoken to each other in 2 weeks.
Are you saying that couples therapy is actually having a therapeutic effect on this couple?
Mm-hmm.
Honey, there's something, you won't like hearing this because this is such a dick, douchey guy thing to say, but that whole little Casey tirade that you just went on right there, I bring up with my running partner, Ben, and Candice, you've never run before, but let me tell you.
I have. I used to do 5Ks with Marcy.
Okay, that counts.
I hated every step.
I know you don't like running. That counts, and I don't discount that. But part of the reason why I love running so much is it's either a time to think or a time to really talk, and that's why I like, whether I'm running with my friend Lindsay or my friend Ben, they become like my therapist because we just talk about deep discussions. In any event, Ben and I are a lot alike when it comes to business. And when I bring up to him what you just said to me, and I'm like, how does your wife possibly deal with all of this stuff that we're doing? By the way, Ben and I are starting a new company. Very exciting stuff. How does your wife deal with all this stuff? And he says to me with this awesome smile, he's like, psh, she knows who she married. And I'm like, yeah. And then we high five and keep running.
I mean, it's true, but it's true. Like I fell for you and I knew this is who you were. But does that make none of my feelings valid or validate them? Does that make them invalid or untrue? That it's like frustrating that I don't have a moment to talk to you? Por ejemplo.
That means, for example, in Spanish.
When we moved apartments, and I think we've already brought this up. I don't care. I don't want you to interrupt me. I'm going to bring it up and repeat it again. Well, you know what I'm going to say.
I don't. I was just going to tell you they made an appointment for us to look at a new apartment tomorrow.
We're not moving.
Okay, you go. I want to.
But this is the thing, Casey.
I know, but that apartment.
I'd rather have 15 minutes where you can like sit and talk with me, or go for a walk, or go for a coffee, than go sit look at a fucking apartment we're not going to move to.
Do you want me to cancel the appointment?
Priorities.
I just thought we'd check it out together and see what we thought.
Anyway, when we moved, one of the big things that you promised about moving was that this new apartment had like an office nook where you set up your screen and attached it to the wall and did all your wires so everything was hidden. And you did it for a while, and now you're back on the kitchen table. I can't. Your work is everything all day, every day to you. Why does it have to be in our home? And then I get insecure because it's like, well, your work is paying for this house. So does that mean you get to do anything you want and I don't have a say? I don't know. Like then that puts me in such a tiny position. And
I don't think we've talked about this before. Boys and girls at home, we've talked about this before. This isn't the inaugural version of this conversation, but this is probably
this is an ongoing thing.
This is probably like the single biggest thing that we ever discussed. I think the answer is no. And I think that also we've been married for 15 years? When have we been married? 5 years?
20 years.
3 years?
At least.
20 years. We've been married for at least 20 years since we've been married since I was a child. And we've been married for a long time. We have kids. You're knocked up right now. So I think that it's no longer fair to say my earnings or your earnings. Just because...
It is an insecurity thing that
I
happens.
understand.
Well, you're paying for it, so do I have a right
No, I understand.
to be upset about that kind of thing.
I never like the idea that a conversation starts from a place of like, well, he pays for this, so therefore he's entitled to something. Because I just don't think that that's fair.
Yeah, that's my deal, not yours.
Right. Like if I could have a baby and you could work 80 hours a week, like then that would probably be a more fair discussion to have. I would still probably try and talk you into having a baby because being pregnant looks like it sucks. What were we talking about?
Well, okay, your shit everywhere and the stress that it brings to the home. We're about to have another human in the home, another set of hands to help out with the humans since we both work. My mother's going to be in and out for a month. People are going to come and visit. There is no room for your work to be in the center of the home.
Well, so I made this appointment tomorrow morning to go look at this new apartment.
Which isn't any bigger.
Right, but it has a little bit of outdoor space, and maybe I can just sit outside.
In the middle of February?
I'll wear a jacket. Mm-hmm. See, I think that you're mostly right here, so I don't have much of a position to argue from.
I was going to say, let's put the shoes on the other feet and see if I came home with like bags of jewelry and samples of T-shirts and put it all over the living room. And I was like, it's my apartment. I can do whatever I want.
The only thing I'd push back on is it was like last night you sat on your laptop.
Working.
Doing whatever you were doing on your computer.
Work.
That's how you say it to me when I'm working. You were sat on your laptop doing whatever you're doing on your computer. And it was annoying as fuck.
Right? And I never do that.
You never do that. And I don't do that either. I know when we have our time with Francine after work from like 6 till she goes to bed, I work really hard not to sit at my laptop.
You lie. You lie.
That's not true. I thought we had a no phones hour.
First of all, that never happens. Second of all, you sit at that desk with your 50 half-finished LaCroix sodas, your tripod, your camera, your hard drive, your backpack, your bag of papers that I've been begging you to bring to work.
What's in that bag?
Shit for your accountant that gets sent to our house. Like, he probably needs it. And you're like, I'll pack it up in the morning. But in the morning, everybody's gone, and then you come home again, and it's just stressful. And the problem I have is that you promised that you would sit in your dedicated zone. And I'm starting to project it getting worse and worse with so many people in the home.
I know, but I told you about that dedicated little office. The dedicated little office, boys and girls, if you could imagine. It's actually very awesome, and I think when we need to move out, it's going to make whoever wants to get our apartment more excited, because that's what I got excited about when we looked at the apartment, whoever built it there. But it's like in the side of the kitchen, instead of there being like extra counter space, there's like, it's kind of like a counter space that's lower, and you could sit at it. It's
like an L-shaped desk with a bulletin board surrounding it.
It's perfect. It's awesome.
Your work is a majority of your life anyway. And so I would like our home to not be your office. And the thing with the little desk on the side, the desk nook on the side of the kitchen, at least it was compartmentalized. But now you're back at the kitchen table, which is like the first thing you see when you walk in the front door. Your stuff, it's not a huge table. There's no desks there's no drawers to put anything away. We discussed it. It was like a big part of us moving to this apartment, and you're just fucking it all up, and it's stressing me out. And it might be because I'm pregnant, but then fuck that. Like, no, my feelings are real.
I know, but let's just assume it's because you're pregnant, and then let's pick this conversation up in 6 or 8 months. I'd like to talk about something that's a little bit more philosophical or existential, but it does dovetail with what you just said.
Go for it.
Okay, so Candice and I were in LA last week, and we went out because I had to go to VidCon. And we wanted to see Candice's parents, who recently moved there from Texas because their house was destroyed in Houston. And the whole trip was sort of a big mush fest because I had to go to the hospital for a day. But our main reason to go out there was to look at houses, like try to figure out what neighborhood we might want to live in, to see if we liked Candice's parents' neighborhood. We do love Candice's parents' neighborhood, but it's probably not right for us. And it was like when you're physically there looking at like neighborhoods and houses, like we went with a real estate agent to look at actual houses, you're able to sort of project, right? Isn't it true? Versus looking at Trulia or whatever online, you can really imagine what our life's going to be like to leave New York City. Okay, so the main catalyst or impetus, the thing that gets me more excited than anything else about like really turning the chapter on our lives in New York City and moving to another state, another side of the country, like whole new, like starting over, is this idea of me really focusing on whatever, life 2.0 or 3.0, like the next phase in my life. And my ambition for that phase of my life is to like try to honestly curb my workaholism, addiction,
Workaholicism.
workaholicness. Basically, like when we get to California, my goal is to shift and do something where I just focus on one project at a time. Like all I do is say no to everything. I'm not going to try and start 3 companies. I'm not going to try and have a daily show on YouTube. I'm not going to try to have a podcast. And like I'm not going to say, it's just to say no to everything and instead put all of my energy into one thing. And it will mean a pretty significant hit, I imagine, on my income and things like that. But that's why we're leaving expensive New York City, and maybe we can find and we're going to find a more reasonable, like sustainable lifestyle, not living in Manhattan, which is such a burden on us. And I say that not frivolously, Candice, but being there really made me feel it. And I'm trying to get to the point. Have I been rambling?
Rambling.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. And here's the point. In the last week, I've had 3 conversations with 3 people I really trust, love, and care about. And they've all told me some version of this desire. I was telling you about yesterday, my friend who is a CEO of a great big company, and he's 47, and he's got a couple little kids, and he's recently decided to leave the great big company and like stop earning and instead get like a much lower paying job so he can really focus on his family and enjoy life. And then today I was with somebody who's a really old friend of mine. He told me the same story. And then he complimented that story by telling me about like his super successful friend who is so successful and like has everything you could ever want in life and is just absolutely miserable. So he's just always chasing that, what's it called when you're addicted to drugs? Chasing the monkey, chasing the unicorn. It's a metaphor. It means like you're chasing something you'll never actually catch. In any event, this is just super real for me. Go. You can go now.
Do you remember when you quit the vlog?
Yeah.
Because you were working, you felt like you needed a break, and you needed a break, and we all needed a break.
That's right.
And then I've never heard you say that you felt depressed, but you said you felt depressed. What in God's name do you think is going to be different about being in California? You think with your obsessive personality and competitive personality, you're going to be able to give up everything you do and focus on me and the children? I don't think so.
I do. I genuinely, absolutely do. And I think that like I'm not naive about it. I'm going to have to work at it. But part of the reason why I've been ringing this same bell to you for years, which is that like I could never do that in New York City, is I'm so hardwired in this town to do that sort of thing. And like the culture shock that's going to be moving 3,000 miles away, I think will facilitate me being able to turn those switches from on to off.
See, I don't think you're going to turn the switch from on to off. I think you see this like...
Yeah. Candice is pointing at slider knobs.
You're gonna push one down, then to push another one up. It's like when you were before vlogging.
Triathlons.
Before triathlons, it was fucking mountain climbing, which you had no business doing.
No one thought that I would make it to the summit of Aconcagua, and I did.
There's just always going to be something, and the things that you like to do take time. Aconcagua, you're gone for like 3 weeks. Like the triathlon, you start running in the morning and running for 3 hours in the Saturday, and then you go to swim class. You are incapable of it. So when I ask you to not bring it home to our kitchen table, it's because I know that's maybe something you can do. You can't turn it off. You're not going to stop working. But how about just don't bring it home?
Honey, you sound a little defeatist. I gave that whole thing about how I'm excited about this new phase of my life.
Look, I wish you all the luck in the world to find peace without...
Wait, that sounds so conclusive. Are you not coming with me?
No, I am.
Okay,
I'm just realistic about nothing's going to change. It's just a different song.
I have to say, okay, so when the time we weren't in the hospital in California, we spent a couple days at Candice's parents' house, and then we spent some time at Candice's sister's house, and then I spent some time with my 2 brothers and sister, like all 4 siblings, which happens maybe once a year. Being around family is the nicest thing.
It's lonely here.
Francine is so happy at your parents' house and then playing with her little cousin. Oh my goodness.
Except when she said the other night. That
I know,
was
but
really
she's
scary.
yeah, she can get a little bit demonic at times.
Can we say what she said?
No, I don't think that's appropriate. Which brings us back to the swearing conversation of 2 weeks ago. Which she still
Oh, she
doesn't.
did it again.
Okay, if there are any parental psychiatrists, what's the one called that does the parenting? That psychologist? Juvenile. We need to learn these terms, honey.
Yeah, I'll get a book.
Get us a book. If you know about parenting, how do you deal with kids who swear when they're babies? Like, I don't think we can explain to her why you can't say words. Like I said, Candice and I don't swear much, and we certainly don't use...
Well, I do.
Okay, Candice swears. We don't swear that much. I don't think compared to normal people.
Not at home.
But we don't really use profanity in anger or hostility. It's just very matter of fact. Like, we use it for emphasis. That's what's so funny about the way Francine does it is like we were baking a funfetti cake 2 nights ago, gluten-free funfetti cake, which is delicious, and I'm concerned about what's in it because it's so delicious. And she was stirring it with like one of those wisps, and it
Whisks.
whisk with a K or with a P?
Whisk with a K.
Whisk.
Yeah.
She was stirring it with one of those whisks, and it spilled out. It spilled out on the counter, and she's like, "Ugh, this fucking thing." And that's how she said it. Like, it wasn't a big deal.
It was perfect.
She didn't say it's as if she was like, "Ugh, this thing." Smarter people out there that are smarter than us, the majority of this audience. How do we as parents address that? Because if we sat down and were like, "Francine, that's not an okay word." When my parents told me that, I was like, "Yes."
I remember in the first grade sitting on the green thing at St. John's. If there's any Houston listeners, they'll know what I'm talking about. And Elizabeth somebody. And I sat down, I said, "Do you know what the word fuck means?" And she's like, "No." And I was like, "You don't?" And she's like, "What does it mean?" I was like, I couldn't explain it to her. I just knew that I knew this bad word and she didn't.
Oh my God. When Francine learned that she wasn't allowed to say stupid, that was 8 straight months of don't say stupid. Mm-hmm. It was as if Francine had this like weird compulsion. Like, we'd say, "Don't say stupid." And she'd sit there and her little face would turn red. And it was like as if it was going to erupt from her face. And then usually the way she'd figure out to say it, she'd say, "Don't say stupid."
Yeah. She'd be like, "Don't say," yeah. She would.
It's so cute. She's so little. She weighs 27 pounds. She's just trying to stir a funfetti cake. The fucking thing spilled right out on her.
Fucking. She doesn't even, she says it perfectly.
Perfectly. I have something to tell you.
Oh, I don't like things that start like that.
I know. This isn't going to end well. Tomorrow, I can't.
You're going away.
No.
Oh,
Well, I am sort of going away. I have to go out to Brooklyn
that's fine.
to get the...
Oh, jeez.
I told you. The trouble is we didn't get rid of the other car.
Well, what do you want to do about that?
What's a person called who is easily talked into something? A sucker?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a nicer way to say that? Is there like...
Are you a sucker?
Oh my God. You could talk me into anything.
You really could.
I am so
Anything
susceptible.
new.
Anything new. So here's the thing. We have always had a car in the city, especially after Franny was born, because we do it, but I'm not proud of it. You just get into a taxi. It's how you get around the city, and getting into a taxi means no car seat. And it's just not, well, in any event. So we got a car, and we had like an SUV. We had like a Jeep, and it was totally fine. There was nothing wrong with it. And then I thought it would be a good idea for us to get a faster car, which is a really stupid idea because we live in New York City and we only have a car that drives Francine a mile to school. And we got that faster car 11 months ago. And then it was just an idea because Candice likes to go to car dealerships. That's a weird thing, by the way.
I love car dealerships. I don't know why I like to drive cars and look at them and smell them.
So we drove out to, what's that terrible town? I mean, that's not a nice thing to say. What's that lovely town in New Jersey called? Where it's basically,
Paramus.
It's a terrible place.
It's just the parts we go to.
Okay, whatever the part of Paramus, New Jersey we go to is, it's just like basically a freeway, and for like 10 straight miles, it's just every car dealership you can imagine. And we went into the Tesla dealership, and they make it so easy, and you just like give them $200, $250 or something.
Add a zero.
It was $2,500?
You think they take 250 bones as a deposit for a Tesla?
I thought that was $250.
No.
You just give them $2,500? I gave them that much money?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. You're blinded by like the cool attitude of the people in there. And you're, Candice is rolling her eyes. This is why I'm a sucker. In any event, I just like did it because there wasn't a lot to it. Like I didn't have to buy the car. You just give them the credit card, sign the stupid thing. You're $2,500 broker and credit card debt. And you walk out of there and you're like, ooh, that was a lot of fun. That felt great.
And then you're on the
And then here we are a month
hook
and a
for
half
a car.
later. And now we have to go get our electric car, which I am excited about, and it's safe. It's very safe. Very important.
No seat back pockets in the second row, which
Okay, Candice isn't super excited. Okay, but here's the problem. I still haven't gotten rid of our other car.
and you know what?
No.
I have just washed my hands of it. This is your bed and you're gonna lie in
I
it.
know, but we can't have two cars, and I
Nope.
can't tell Tesla that I need another day before I pick that car up. I've been telling him it for a week.
Why, you think you're gonna sell our car in a day?
Well, I think if I had another week, I could maybe get rid of it.
Tell them you can't pick it up for another week.
I told them that 2 weeks ago. They like called my accountant.
Oh, because they want you to pay the balance.
No, I don't know. I think it's just taking up space. I think they think that I was just a guy who went in there and just gave them the down payment on a credit card and couldn't actually pony up and take the car, which is exactly what it's exactly what I am. No, I'm very excited about it. It's just this 2-car conundrum. We need 0 cars.
No,
Casey,
we need a
Casey and
car.
Candice need 0 cars. Casey and Candice have 2 cars. What do Casey and Candice do? So stupid.
But hey, this is your bed.
Sucker.
Sucker, I'm just lying back and watching the show.
Can we bring up tomorrow at the when we have to go to our session with the therapist? Can we bring up that thing that I have where I want to work less? There are 2 things in my life.
I don't want you to use up our special time.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I know we're gonna go in there like we always do and just have her mitigate 2 arguments about things that are important, but they are temporary. And there are really just 2. Well, one thing that I struggle with more than anything in life, and that's that. Because especially like when we have another baby, I do just want to stop working so much. I do want to pay attention. But I think you're right. Like when I stopped vlogging, I was so extraordinarily miserable.
You're
I woke
very
up every
black
morning
and
without
white.
a purpose.
You're a black
Are you
and white
diagnosing
person.
me right now?
No, I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose you, but I can give you my opinion on what I see and what I recognize.
Is it going to be helpful or is it going to be snarky?
It's going to be helpful.
Okay, go.
But I don't. As an observation, you need to find your own therapist and talk through these things.
Okay.
I don't know if all men are like this.
Oh boy. Here we go. If it starts out,
No,
the sentence starts out with that, just run.
I think there is a big difference between men and women, and that's why women are so indecisive and emotional, because we see all sides of things, which can be a hindrance.
Any feminists that are listening that take issue with Candice's generalization, I'm with you.
And then men, stereotypically, are very black and white. Whatever's in front of them is what they notice, and they don't wake up in the morning thinking about the entire day and what has to happen, right? Somebody actually used the hashtag couples therapy and had a really good posting and said, like, women wake up and the first thing they think about is their child and their home and their husband and everything, and go through the list of things that have to be done. And I think the first thing a man thinks about is like, well, gotta take shit, next gotta take a shower, next gotta go to work, like not thinking 10 steps ahead. I think it's biological, and that's fine. But what I'm getting at is, like, you are a man in the truest sense, in that it's black and white. So you either are working your ass off or you have to stop completely. And that's not true. You need to figure out an in-between. Not everything is black and white. And when you used to break up with me, that was very, like, your manly thing to do. Like, it's never going to work. Not like, let's see if we can figure out something that works for both of us. It's just like all or nothing. Not like, let's think about the Tesla. It's like, take my money.
You know, I think instead of attaching those, instead of pinning those to genders, Candice, I think that it's just 2 different types of people. It's like Apollo and Dionysus.
People with peni and people with vagina.
No, I think it's like there are people who operate more out of emotion, which is, I think, what you are. and everything goes through your emotional filter. And then there are people like me who everything goes through a rational filter. And you can...
So I'm irrational? Whoa.
Was that you provoking me?
No, that was just asking.
No, it's not about being rational or irrational. It's about sort of decision processes. And it's like emotion is what dictates your...
Well, yes, I would say that I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm a very female...
Again, with the genders, I just think it's...
It is. It's like I'm very emotional, and females are emotional.
That's not true, because when I think my baby brother is more rational like me, and I think my big brother is more emotional like you. And both of my brothers are men. Both of them are. And then I think my sister is rational like me, and she is not a man.
Yeah, well...
That's what you call a swerve. Candice was trying to bring up something about us, and
Do
instead I made it about
you
something
remember
generic,
sometimes,
like genders.
sometimes we can't fight. One of the reasons we went to Dr. P in the beginning was because I couldn't fight with you because you're so articulate and like direct with your arguments that you just shut me down at every corner. And I'm like, okay, now what? I can't fight with you.
I used to say, I'm not going to argue with you, Casey, because you're just going to
win.
And then I would say it's because I'm right.
No. Such a bully.
All right, let's, should we jump into questions? I don't want to skirt over this, but I also don't want to beleaguer it. Beleaguer. I don't want to beleaguer it, but like it is a constant sort of stress of mine, which is how can I figure out how to pivot? And I know you don't believe me, but like I watched my dad just work 90 hours a week for his whole life and be miserable because of it.
I do believe you.
I don't want to miss our kids' childhood.
I do believe you, but I think that you haven't dug beneath the surface enough, and that's why it's stressing you out so much because you can't see how to get there.
I do when I move to California. I want to get back into racing. I think
honey,
it'd be really competitive.
Your time, you're not going to be giving us more time. I just would like more quality time out there. Meaning when you're home, your work isn't home with us.
Okay, our first question.
Hey, Candice and Casey, Ben here from Chicago. My question to you two is, on an earlier podcast, the two of you talked about how you had financial issues and how you two struggled with dealing with the two of your personal finances. And I was wondering if you could maybe talk about how you two worked those problems out, some of the conversations you had and a little bit of the, pragmatic approaches and strategies that you two used to work that out. Thank you again for everything. Bye.
Do you want me to go with this one?
You can start.
Well, I think that finances. What is it? People always most marriages break up because parents are fighting over finances or
parenting usually.
Or parenting. We don't fight about finances, but we did to the point of it like almost wrecking our relationship. It was so stressful for us, and our solution to working it out, and I don't think there's any one solution that works for everyone, but our solution was like really, really, really being open about discussing why Candice wanted what she wanted. And by wanted, I don't mean she wanted money or anything. Like, she wanted to better understand. So we were living in a vacuum. I had no idea what her financial situation was. She had no idea what my financial situation was. And we had an arrangement with the bills. And it just left her feeling left out, like I didn't want to share with her, and that was frustrating for her. And then it was like stressful for me because I didn't understand why she wanted to understand more. Right.
So I think that without addressing like the nitty gritty of our finances with each other, we just wanted to, Casey couldn't understand why I felt left out, and I couldn't understand why Casey left me out. And so we did a lot of work on that with Dr. P.
Yeah, we went to the therapist for that specific thing.
And I still don't know all of Casey's finances or even anywhere near it, but I'm comfortable understanding why there is a boundary for him. And I think that he's comfortable understanding why I'm curious. It's not because I want to control it or because he wants to control it. It's just like we have a comfort level that is completely different, and we are now, I think we're working in a steady way together to make each other still feel comfortable. Yeah. So the bottom line is like the end result wasn't me going to your accountant and learning all your finances. I still have no clue, but I don't feel attacked by by the way you handle it.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends who have been married for 22 years. They have 2 teenage kids, and their finances are 100% separate. 100% separate. There's no overlap. They have an agreement. That's it. Everything else is separate. And then I have friends who are in a similar position. They've been married for a little bit less time, and the wife handles everything to the point where, like, the husband doesn't even see his own paychecks or anything. It all goes into an account that she handles. And both of those, it works for them. So that's why I started this by saying, like, there's no cookie cutter that works for any relationship. But
you do have to be very sensitive to is what the other person feels about your current sharing situation.
That's right.
If they're uncomfortable, doesn't mean you have to change, but you have to address why they're uncomfortable.
Right. I think really it's openness and getting past the idea of being threatened by finances, because money is scary and money has a tendency to screw up everything. And like, if I'm threatened by Candice's finances, the way she's handling them, or she's threatened by mine, then we're both failing.
Hi, Candice and Casey. My name is Kristen, and I'm a huge fan of the podcast and what both of you do professionally. The podcast in particular has really opened my eyes about mental health and how I should make it more like of a priority in my life. I've seen therapists a couple times before, not that much, but it's something that I really think I could benefit from if I saw someone regularly like Candice does with Dr. P. I'm currently in the middle of a career transition, and I'm about to move halfway across the country to a new city by myself. So my question is, how did you find Dr. P? And what would you recommend in my research for doctors in my new area who would be a good fit for me and my needs? I really want to get the most out of the experience and benefit from it. So thanks again so much. I love you guys, and keep being so great at what you do. Thanks.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the move, I think. And you're right. You need to see it regularly. Going to talk to somebody, I can feel it when I skip a week or two with Dr. P. And I'm not dependent on it, but I have so much going on in my life that why do I want to struggle figuring things out when I can speak to somebody about it? And especially with a move, you should find someone. The best way to find someone is through word of mouth. Even if you have a friend who has a therapist in Chicago, ask them to ask the therapist for names of people in Des Moines. Like, it's a network that's spread across the country, and like, I just helped find somebody in LA, somebody through Dr. P. I would think like that.
Yeah, I had a friend too who doesn't have a lot of money, and he found a therapist who was willing to let him pay what he could afford.
Right.
And apparently that's a fairly common practice as well.
The other thing is, I don't know how much experience you have, but there's different types of therapy. There's talk therapy. There's like Freudian therapy. There's behavioral therapy. If you kind of Wikipedia them and see which type of therapy speaks to you the most, then you can find a website in your town of doctors that practice that theory of psychology. Does that make sense? That's also another way to start. And also, it takes a few times. You're never going to like your first therapist. So don't be afraid of working at it.
Hi, Candice. Hi, Casey. My name is Megan, and I'm from London, Canada. And I have a question about jealousy. How did both of you overcome your issues with jealousy within your relationship? Specifically, Candice, how do you deal with that? Thanks, guys.
It only went away when he proposed to me.
Well, okay. So we're talking about jealousy with like other girls and other boys, or we're talking about jealousy in other.
I'm pretty sure she's talking about boys and girls. I think after all the times you broke up and you dated other women and then always came back to me, there was just, even before you proposed, but the last time we got back together, I was like, what am I worried about? Like, I always joke when you see a pretty girl, I'm like, go, do it. Go for it.
There's such
because I know you won't.
There's such little jealousy in our relationship. And I don't even think that lack of jealousy is rooted in trust.
I think we're just too tired.
Yeah, I just don't think we care.
It's been long enough.
I mean, there's also like, not to get too deep in the woods, but it's like, what are you afraid of? You know, it's like, what's that awesome line that's like, you can't control what happens to you in life, you can only control how you react to it? Is that relevant?
Yeah, or Yeah, or if you love something, set it free. I think both of those things could work to describe our situation. It's like, if you want to cheat on me, I don't want to be with you. Like,
Exactly.
We've done this so long.
Right.
Like, if you really feel like you need to go screw another woman, just get it over with and let's move on. Like,
and like, if you needed whatever from elsewhere, that'd be an indicator that there's something much bigger wrong with this relationship. And on top of that, like, if there's something that you wanted to do, who the hell am I to control you?
No,
like,
but
you
then-
do you, and then we have to figure it out. And if that means it's the end of a
It's the end,
marriage,
yeah.
then that is what it is. But I
but
think
girls who stay with cheaters, I think you always forgive someone once. Like, I think a guy is entitled to a mistake, i.e., when I found that girl's necklace in your couch and you still denied something happened. But it's fine, you're allowed.
I'd like to objection, Your Honor. That was like 9 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
We didn't have no kids. We were
No.
sort of dating.
And then,
And
like,
we were broken up.
And then there's like the serial cheaters. If your boyfriend has cheated on you more than once, dude, you have problems of your own because you should not be with a cheater.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people. You're not one of those people.
No,
Could
no,
you
but-
imagine being with one of those people like you see on the TV shows? No, I
No.
could. There's no way.
No.
We're not super jealous people. I'll also say that, like,
I can't even lie to you for more than 2 seconds about anything.
it also takes a long time. It takes a long time. Like, I was jealous when I was younger, and then I know young people who, like, come to me about their relationships and their breakups, and it's all rooted in jealousy. And it's like, you can't control someone else. You never will be.
Nope.
So if
can't.
you're with someone and you're so terrified of them cheating on you that you're frozen, then, like, look, there's something much bigger here. Because
Yeah.
if he or she wants to do something behind your back, then you've got bigger issues anyways. And
Agreed.
what are you going to chain them up to prevent it from happening? And then what's the
Agreed.
state of a relationship? All right, this is our last question.
Hi, Candice and Casey. In your conversation today, you talked about being introverts. How do you think your relationship would be different if one of you was an introvert and one of you wasn't? Thank you so much. I'm a big fan of the podcast.
You're kind of an extrovert a little bit.
Well, I drink to help with my introversion.
You're anti-introversion?
But when, like, for example, we had that baby shower at my house
Oh, God.
the other day.
At your house?
Did I say our house? Did I
You
say?
said your house. I live there too. I mean, I know I sleep in the guest room, but it's still kind of like I still feel like it's more of ours than yours.
That was Freudian slip. I was like hiding. I couldn't talk to anybody. I mean, my friends were all there, but anyone I didn't know, I was like hiding, pretending to clean, or like sitting in a corner, or like, oh, my stomach's cramping, I'm just gonna sit down. But if I had a cocktail or a mimosa, I become my alter ego, which is very extroverted. So I think that when
Wait, this brings it back to her question. When you are, okay, Candice is super duper pregnant, so she ain't drinking no mo. But when you do drink, I hate you.
that's right, you don't like the extroverted me.
I don't know that I like the extroverted anyone, but
Yeah.
I definitely don't like the extroverted Candice. It's my least favorite Candice.
Yeah.
When have you ever been drunk when we haven't ended with me storming off angry? Your birthday.
That was fun.
That was a good time. Yeah, so to answer your question, I don't know. I think that we're together for a reason, and it's probably because we identify with one another so well. But I do think it'd be very, very hard if someone like me, who likes to stay home and likes to stay focused and likes to keep things small socially, was with someone that had to share a life with someone who lived a antithetical social life to that.
Like, we don't have people, we have like one friend over. We don't have people over. We don't go out to dinner with people.
Right, but her question was, what would it be like to live with somebody?
Very difficult.
Yeah. I don't know how.
Look at my mom and my dad. My mom's a total
Super extrovert.
My dad is an introvert, and they fight about it all the
That's
time.
true. Your mother likes to throw dinner parties and
For
have
like
people.
40 people.
It's crazy. She has like a
And my
basement full
dad
of
will
folding
stay
chairs.
in his bed until she's like, you need to get out here right now. And he's like, I didn't invite
Can you do
any
it
of
in a
these
South
people.
African accent?
No.
Come on.
No.
A little bit. Just say something. When we're in South Africa, her South African accent comes back. Yeah, I think it'd be very, very challenging. But I think that you could.
You'd have to work on it. You have to like understand the
you
difference.
you could go even deeper, which is that like if you're trying to share your life with someone who's so fundamentally different, it would require like an extra level of energy and effort to really be able to empathize and understand with someone like that. And when it comes to socializing, I can't think of something more stressful to try to really understand. Okay, so I want to sign off today by talking about how we're going to be consistent in the future because, Candice, we have our summer trip coming up and we're going to be out of New York City for a couple of days next week, including Wednesday when we normally record.
I know, but we can bring microphones or something.
Okay, so I just want to understand for the record, you want to record this next week remotely?
I don't like missing.
Can I put the burden on you to make sure we don't miss it?
Sure.
Crack that whip, honey. Crack that whip. No? That's it for this week's episode. No, that is this week's episode of Couples Therapy. It's good to be back in front of the microphones. I missed this, and hopefully, barring some unexpected trip to the hospital, we will be back next week on our regularly scheduled Friday morning drop of Couples Therapy with Candice and Casey. Mm-hmm. You have to say something besides mm-hmm to end the episode.
To be honest with you, Maury, I'm a horse.